Alright, today we're going to discuss some basic techniques on how to do a whiskey tasting, and what better way to do it than by comparing a $12 bottle of this mellow corn whiskey with this $500 bottle of Whistle Pig Boss Hog Rye. Each of these are bottled at 100 proof, and that's probably about where the similarities end. Now, I don't fancy myself a whiskey tasting expert, so I did a little research from my friends over at the Whiskey Tribe. But first, let's talk about the glassware to use here. The gold standard is this Glencairn glass. It's great because you can hold it at the bottom so you don't warm it, and the glass tapers towards the top to concentrate the smell when you nose it, and the stem removes any unintentional heat to that spirit. And of course, the crystal glass makes it easy to assess the color of the whiskey. Alright, so to compare these whiskeys, we're going to look at 5 different things. First, the appearance, then we're going to look at the nose, then the palate, then the finish, and then we're actually going to try these in a spirit-forward drink, the Manhattan, to see how they fare. So we're going to start by pouring a dram of our mellow corn whiskey. And that term dram is actually a bit imprecise. It generally refers to a measure of whiskey, maybe 1.5 ounces, although it does have a technical measurement of about 1/8 of an ounce, but no one really uses it that way. But let's start with the appearance of the mellow corn. It's quite a gold, maybe a straw color. It's pretty clear, no sediments in there, and about a medium viscosity, I would say, as you swirl it around. All right, let's move to the nose. And so a good technique for smelling this whiskey is to actually keep your mouth open and then bring it to your nose until it becomes a bit too sharp, then pull it away, and then just kind of think about it. Opening your mouth actually helps keep those vapors moving instead of really building it up into your sinus cavity. And you actually might get different smells by putting your nose in the glass versus the top of the glass, or if you agitate or swirl it. But when trying to describe this, you're really asking yourself, what does this remind me of? Not so much the objective thing that is in the glass. So really, there's not exactly a right or wrong answer here. To me, I get some vanilla, a bit of raisin, some maple, a little cherry, and actually a hint of eraser. Okay, let's move to the palate. What flavors does this remind you of? Now, the way I sip it is kind of like a hot coffee. My first sip, I'll just swallow it right away and see, okay, how does it taste? And then I'll assess the mouthfeel. Is it oily? Does it burn a little bit? Is there spice on the tongue? And then with a second sip, I'll kind of spread it across the tongue a little bit more without usually swishing it too much. And you might actually find that the taste evolves as you let it sit for a while. So here I'm definitely getting sweetness. It's rich, relatively low complexity, medium body, still some more vanilla, and definitely that maple comes through on the palate. Okay, and then the finish. What stays behind? Does it vanish? Does it linger? Sometimes oily or more mature whiskeys might last a little longer, but this one I'd say has a pretty medium finish. It fades pretty quickly. I get a hint of bread actually as it sort of lingers around. All right, onto the Boss Hog, which is the annual high-end whiskey from Whistle Pig, and it already gets bonus points because this massive bottle cap can double as a weapon. All right, the coast looks clear, so let's pour a healthy dram into our Glencairn glass here. Now, the first thing you notice is the appearance is drastically different. It's more of a deep copper, which makes sense. It's spent about 17 years in American oak, and they finish it in both Spanish oak and South American teakwood casks. Here it is next to the mellow corn. It's about as clear, maybe a bit of light sediment, and definitely heavier viscosity. One way to assess that is by looking at the legs of the drink, which are the trails of whiskey that form when you swirl it around. The more rapidly the legs move, the lighter the whiskey will likely be in your mouth. The thicker and slower they are, the heavier it will feel. All right, enough of the jibber jabber. Let's get my nose in here. The first thing I sense is just higher intensity and complexity. It definitely smells more mature. I get a lot of cinnamon, some raisin, again with the maple, actually a bit of blackberry, some berry fruitiness. I also sense a bit of hay and some medicinal flavors. It's really interesting. I feel like it's got a lot more going on. It's traveled the world. It's got some stories to tell, some life lessons to give. Let's see if it actually tastes any good. One last sniff to warm up the palate, and okay, wow, this is definitely more complex. I get some bitter notes right away, then some rich umami flavors. It's definitely more full-bodied. I'd almost say creamy. There's a little bit of clove spice in there, and I almost get a hint of Madeira wine. I don't know, it reminds me of that. Okay, let's pretend it's some cranberries and let it linger just a little bit here. So on the finish, I'm getting definitely a longer finish. It continues to evolve. Some coconut actually appears, maybe some fruit leather. Definitely a little bit of cinnamon as well. Okay, for our final taste test comparison, let's try putting both of these whiskeys into a standard Manhattan spec. But first, we need something tasty to pair this with, and I can't think of anything better than some high quality meat. So I'm really happy to be sponsored by Crowd Cow for this video. So what is Crowd Cow? Well, they're a marketplace for high quality meats that really creates this meaningful connection between the farmer and you, the customer. So you can kind of get to know and appreciate exactly where their food comes from and just get higher quality meat and seafood. It tastes better and it's better for them and for their family. So for example, I love high quality boneless ribeye steaks and I often prepare it using the sous vide method. Let's talk a bit more about how this service works. You start by building your box. You explore and shop their high quality beef, pork, chicken, seafood, and more, then you just get it on your schedule. Each cut comes vacuum sealed, frozen at the peak of freshness, and sustainably shipped directly to your door. And then if you want, you can join the herd and become a member for free and get perks like 5% off and free shipping above $99. You can click my link, crowdcow.com/cocktailchemistry in the description box below to get $15 off your first order. And you can also save an extra 5% off everything you put into your box when you become a member, which is always the best deal. Just click my link and your membership is free. Okay, back to the Manhattan comparison. We're gonna start with 2 ounces or 60 mils of the mellow corn. Now we need our sweet vermouth. Now the cork on my Carpano Antica bottle just broke, so I'm using this bottle from Crew. They're really nice. You can actually unscrew the bottom here to help with cleaning, so it's really good for things like infusions. Anyway, we're gonna do 1 ounce or 30 mils. Hit that with a couple dashes of Ango bitters. Throw about 3 or 4 cubes of ice in there and stir for 45 seconds to chill and dilute it. Then grab a chilled coupe glass that I've had sitting in the freezer and we're just gonna strain the cocktail in. All right, don't cringe, but I'm gonna do the same with the $500 bottle of Boss Hog, 2 ounces or 60 mils of our whiskey, then 1 ounce or 30 mils of our sweet vermouth, 2 dashes of Ango, add ice, stir, strain into another chilled coupe glass, and raise it up for dramatic effect. All right, we've got our 2 Manhattans here, one made with $12 mellow corn, one made with $500 Boss Hog from Whistle Pig, and right away you can see that there is a slight color difference between the two, not surprising. But let's start with the mellow corn and see if any of those flavors come through in the Manhattan. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. I would say you double down on some of that cherry flavor, a bit of caramel, get a bit of a vanilla finish as well. That Carpano Antica does have some vanilla, so that's not too surprising. This is a totally fine Manhattan. If I were served this in a bar, I would not be disappointed at all. Let's see if the Boss Hog has a good answer. I'm guessing this drink would run about $40 if you ordered it in a bar. Is it worth it? I mean, wow, it's actually a really interesting Manhattan. It's bright, it's more fruity, I would say. It's really excellent and balances really well. Get a hint of orange on the finish. It's probably one of the better Manhattans I've ever had. I don't know, I like using really good spirits in cocktails too. I'm here for this. All right, so what's the takeaway here? Is it worth it? Is it worth the $500? That's what everyone's gonna be asking and thinking. The answer is not that simple. First of all, this mellow corn for $12 is an absolute steal. If you can find it, highly recommend trying it out. And this Boss Hog is a really complex, interesting whiskey. You're gonna get that for 17-year aged whiskeys. But you certainly do not need to drop half a stack to get that age statement. But I hope what you mostly take away from this video are some techniques on how to get more enjoyment out of the bottle you already have in your cabinet. Let me know the most interesting bottle you've got, and I'd love to do more of these. Thanks for watching, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this format. Let me know if there are other spirit or liqueur tastings you want me to do. And if you like what you see and want to support the channel, the best thing you can do is just watch more videos. I've got a bunch to choose from, and I'll put a few good ones up here on screen. Cheers.